Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News website. Today, I've got one of our friends of the show, Mario Stifano. He's with Galantas, and Galantas is a sponsor of the website, and they just had some very good news out. So thank you very much, Mario, for coming on again to discuss the news.
Thanks, Allan. Always a pleasure to come on with you.
Okay, so the headline was Galantas Gold drills 10.1 grams of gold and 93 grams of silver over 6.5 meters at Omaha. That's a great place to start, Mario. So tell us a little bit about the results.
Yeah, so look, I mean, I see companies that drill that just on the silver and they get a lot of attention. And we're drilling that with silver and gold and lead at the Joshua vein. It's near surface. I think I mentioned it many times, Allan, that we're really just getting started here at the Omaha project, and lots of reasons why. The company was very undercapitalized as it was focused on trying to get the asset into development. But now that we're capitalized, there's going to be a dual focus here to try and show that we've got hopefully a world-class district here. And the Joshua vein, where you saw that 10 grams over 6.5 meters, we're continuing to drill Joshua. We should have another hole out in January, probably towards the middle part of January to later part of January. Assays always take a little bit of time, and we'll have some more holes coming up from the Kearney vein. But this is becoming very, very clear. And you would have seen in the news release, we've already started to allude to it, that I think it's going to start making more sense now to start drilling Joshua from underground. We're only about 200 meters away from the crosscut, and we can just do an underground drill bay and start drilling Joshua from depth. And obviously, we're drilling Kearney from underground as well. So now, we could get a couple of drills underground, aggressively drill this project, just 2 veins, right, out of maybe 16 or more veins that have already been identified. And if you go one release earlier than that on the geophysics, we've already mentioned in the area to the east of the Kearney vein and Joshua vein, and to the west of the Kearney and Joshua vein, we did 2 test areas with geophysics, and both areas identified targets for us, structural targets. And it's not just the geophysics, because I think those that are been exposed to geophysics and the potential they may show, we all know that really it's pretty pictures. It's just another tool in your belt that will help you determine your priority targets. But in the geophysics area, for example, to the area to the east of the Kearney vein, back in 2005, 1.7 meters of 11 grams were drilled. And that's never been followed up since 2005. And look, that shouldn't surprise anyone, because in 2016 at Joshua, 10 grams over 21 meters wasn't followed up either. So that, really what I'm trying to point out to everyone here is, this is an area that it's very rare to get exposure to high grade mineralization near surface. Obviously, we'll go down to the bowels of the earth, as many say, because it's orogenic type deposits. But at the same time have potential for production to generate the cash flow. So as investors, we're not constantly getting diluted with more and more capital to really demonstrate the potential of this district.
To put it into context, a lot of that historical work was focused on the underground and mining type work. There really wasn't a lot of targeted drilling to try to open these things up dramatically.
That's exactly it. And now that we're doing our first maiden under the new management team 4,000 meter drill program, even the 4,000 meters, part of it is to shore up some of our mine plans, while at the same time obviously look for extensions to the known veins. But even as we're drilling, I think you mentioned this before, Allan, that when you look at the Kearney vein, 13 meters to the west, we're getting some great results. Like prior to this one, we got the 2.9 meters of 27 grams. And this is a parallel vein to the main Kearney vein. And that's now has 120 meters of strike with a few holes in it. But we're getting some consistent high grade mineralization with good mining widths when it comes to gold. And as we continue to advance this, I'm like, look, again, I'm going to say it's one of those rare gold deposits in a district that we should all be comfortable has potential to host world-class deposits, because 20 miles away from us is Dalradian, 6 million ounces plus at 13 grams. And that was the 2018 resource. So I don't know what they drilled to date. And on the other side of the pond in Newfoundland, you got the Queensway project with some really high grade intercepts, and potentially could be another world-class discovery. And you got some real supportive shareholders in Newfound Gold. Some of those same shareholders are in our company for, I think, similar reasons. So as we start to advance this, knock on wood, we're going to continue to find more and more high grade mineralization.
Well, and you're not just throwing, comments loosely out there, because that's a well-known deep fault structure that goes down to the upper mantle. It goes from Newfoundland all the way over to Ireland. I still remember the early days of the Newfoundland stuff, and they were always pointing to the similarities of Dalradian in Ireland. And now you're showing that you've got that fault, you've got the veins, and you've got the high grade. And what really excited me about that last news release was that you were just starting to get into the more competent rock.
Yes.
And as you are, it's getting wider and it's getting higher grade.
That's very true. And again, this is a little bit of a unique deposit, at least from surface. I haven't seen any of the near surface core at Dalradian, but because of the faulting, the thrusting and the folding here at the Omagh project, the mineralization near surface is almost like a black clay type material. It's almost wet. When I went there and I looked at the core and I touched the mineralization, your mineralization, because as I said, it's almost this black clay, which is quite unique, because I've talked to a few geos, you don't typically see that. But as you just pointed out, we always expected as we get deeper, we're going to see more of the quartz veins, which we're starting to see now, which, knock on wood, the grade includes, improves, widths improve. And, again, as we drill deeper and deeper and on strike, we're very hopeful that we're going to find more and more gold here. At the same time, producing gold.
There was a really good quote in your news release. Mario stated, and I quote, "We are very pleased with the continuous success of our exploration program, which continues to demonstrate high-grade mineralization at Omagh, particularly high-grade in wider dilation zones at both Kearney and Joshua veins. We look forward to providing further updates on drill results in our mine production plan in the near future as we advance this unique opportunity to significantly grow high-grade resources at Joshua and Kearney, which remains open on strike and at depth, while also producing gold." End quote. So let's put that into a little bit of context. These dilation zones are where the rocks open up and they allow the fluids to come, the gold-bearing fluids to come in there. And here's a quote that I have from I did a little homework before we went on.
Uh-oh.
here's a great, you'll love this comment. And this is in relation to dilation zones. Fault-related host rock deformation and dilation control fluid flow and mineralization in many world-class mineral deposits.
Yeah, wow. Look, you guys sent me that quote, but that's exactly it. I mean, give our team at site a lot of credit, and Sarah Coulter, our chief geologist. She's always believed that we have a great project at Omagh, and some of the earlier holes, both at Kearney, and really this started with the underground channel sampling, again, in preparation of some mining. Also, we had to shut it down, waiting for one additional permit, which we now have. But she started to understand the potential for the dilation zones, and the drilling that she drilled and Galantas drilled in 2015-16 started to hit some of those dilation zones. And what we're drilling now is starting to show that, yeah, there's potential continuity to some of these dilation zones. And again, the nature of mining and exploration is the more you drill, when you have something, the more you drill, the more you're going to find. This is not a very nuggety deposit, which is quite beneficial from a mining perspective. We got some great continuity to the high grade mineralization. And if we can get, as you pointed out, those dilation zones and where things open up and also potentially have higher grade, then yeah, I mean, I think we're onto something here. And keep in mind, these are just 2 veins.
And you're close to surface still.
Right, I know. Just 2 veins out of 16 we've identified so far, with some drilling and very shallow drilling. So 25,000 meters, 27,000 meters now, I guess, with the current drill program. And I'm told about 22,000 meters of that is at the Kearney and Joshua vein. The rest is other veins that we've identified with very, very limited drilling, but we know they're there, just have to follow up on them.
But again, that was drilling that was done with mining in mind.
Correct.
But you opened up a good comment there in that it's one thing to predict where something should be. It's another thing to then put the truth machine on and follow up on the predicted. And when it's that predictive, it tells you a lot about the potential to keep on delivering.
Yep. And you're exactly. So, this is structurally controlled, which is going to help us identify more and more targets, whether it's the Joshua Kearney vein, where there's these dilation zones falling into depth, but also as we start to look further afield, all within the existing area of mine infrastructure. Keep that in mind. We have infrastructure here. We should be able to grow our resources pretty quickly. So, our plans, and more will be coming out in the new year. We'll give some good guidance on how we're going to ramp up to a phased expansion, 200 tons per day in 2022, and then continue to expand the mill and hopefully increase our production as we identify more gold. But keep in mind, there's a lot of targets all within our underground infrastructure and working. So Joshua is 200 meters away. North Kearney, which from surface was getting up to 30 grams per ton from 1980 work from Rio Tinto. No drill holes since then, no geophysics, no underground workings. But again, we're only 200 meters away from the North Kearney structure, which we still haven't tested yet. So I think we're onto something here, but we're going to take it patiently. And I think this is, and I've said this many times, a lot of work and effort was done by the prior management team and Roland Phelps, getting this to the position where we can produce gold, getting it permitted. Yeah, we had a hiccup in getting the blasting permit, which is now in place. That was a little bit of unexpected, and we're fully permitted. But there was a lot of effort put by the prior management team and great effort to get the company to this position. And if we can continue on that path now, while at the same time finding more gold without having to really dilute our shareholders, we're not only going to create a lot of market cap, we're going to do it through the share price, not just issuing more and more equity.
Yeah, that's really important. Your business model really excites me, but I am also quite excited about the combination of when you talk about a drill program, if you don't have to do that from surface and you can start from 200 or 300 meters down, you can drill these things off like a 4,000 meter program from surface. You're blowing away the first 300 to 400 meters, just going through nothing. Yep. Down here, you can target exactly where you want to go and get a lot more bang for your buck. And, folks, I hope it's not lost on you that in these orogenic kind of deposits, you have these deep structures that go all the way down to the upper mantle. They're cracks in the earth that, they have a way of pinching and swelling. That's what they're talking about when they talk about dilation zones. And it's in those kind of zones where you can have big blowouts of lots of high grade. And so not only can you get at them easier with the drilling rig, you can get at them, which I call the truth machine, you can get at them with the really big truth machine, which is the underground mining. and gain access to this. Now, why that? Let's put it into context. The Swan Zone at Fosterville is a classic orogenic system that they had to go down 1,000 meters to get into that jewelry box. These guys are Galantas is finding it right at really close to surface where they have underground workings. And another thing they're tagging is that they're getting an idea of where this rock should open up, and they're getting higher grade and wider zones in the harder rock. So as they get out of that clay type material, they can start targeting in on those that harder rock and those dilation zones. And it seems like your geologist has a good handle on that, and she's learning more every time you poke a hole.
Exactly. And you know, as you're saying, everyone needs to understand that there's 30,000 ounces mined here as an open pit. So we know there's gold here. And that open pit also helped us understand a lot of the geology, because not only were we looking to drill with the diamond drill bit, you know, everyone knows you're looking at something this big that helps you understand the geology, but it's not the same thing as actually mining. So now going forward, you know, we have the underground workings, we have channel sampling from underground, we have the open pit, we can see the structures, and that's really what led Sarah to try and understand what's happening here with these dilation zones. And you know, an extension of that, obviously, Allan, you were quite early on this, and you liked Dalradian a lot. But if someone look at my Twitter comments over the weekend, you know, quite surprised me. People that followed Dalradian and really liked Dalradian, for whatever reason, weren't following Galantas or just didn't understand what Galantas had. And, you know, a comment was from someone, you know, you have 500,000 ounces, that's it. And, you know, now they came out and said, you know, I got to have a real close look at this, because I didn't realize there's potential here for a multi-million ounce deposit with production. So it's these sort of unique companies at times that have been looked over for various reasons. And there's lots of reasons why people did not look at Galantas, but it's not because of geology, it's not because of potential. It was strictly because the company had its head down trying to get this in production, and all the roadblocks that were put in front of it took time to resolve. But now all the hard work's done. So now hopefully as shareholders, we can reap the benefit.
Well, and a part of the problem for that is, you know, Dalradian was such a massive success that, you know, when you're in close proximity, trying to get some of that light shown on you can be difficult. But you guys have put it all together, and now it's sort of, you're hitting the ground running very rapidly. I mean, in a short period of time, I think we've only been you and I have been doing interviews for about 6 weeks. You've already had, I think, 3 sets of drill results. You've now got the geophysics, and you know, that's not just geophysics in the middle of nowhere. You know what these faults look like, so you have the geophysical signature. And now you're able to match it up with actual geophysics, new geophysics. So
exactly,
you know,
and we've got two like so far. I'm not saying this is it, but with those 2 geophysics from the east of Kearney and the west of Kearney, we now have about 2.5 kilometers of strike on these faults. High grade mineralization at Kearney, high grade mineralization at Joshua. 1 drill hole or a couple of drill holes east at the Kestrel vein. We've got a lot of surface showings on the western target, and we still don't even know what's in between those 2. Keep that in mind as well. I mean, it's just very limited amount of work here, but there is gold showing everywhere. And you know, it's really hard to find a company that controls this amount of prospective ground that's high grade, that hasn't really been followed up with drilling, that hasn't really caught the attention of the market as yet. And again, I'll bring up the Newfound Gold with, I think today maybe a $1.3 billion market cap company. You know, we got structure. Yeah, big structure. We got just as much, if not more, land with exact same faults, great grades, very continuous. That with ounces already in the books and production.
And you've got the underground
market cap.
you got the underground workings to help you because they're having a bit of a challenge because they've got to drill everything from the surface and get down, and they only get to see this window of the drill hole of what's down there. Your geologist gets to go and look around underground and say, oh, there, look at that.
Exactly.
That's a tremendous eye opener.
Yeah, and I mean, theoretically, look at some of the world-class discoveries in the olden days. That's how they were all discovered, right? Smaller deposits, get into production, understand the ore body you have, and just continue to drill. And that's how some of these mines have been around for 50, 100 years. And whether it's Latin America, Canada, Australia, from the Fostervilles to the also the Macassa mine in Kirkland Lake and the Timmins camp, the Dome mine to the McIntyre mine, they're all similar systems, right? Just in the olden days, this is how we did it. And for whatever reason, when the equity markets were really hot for gold, I think the Canadian market sort of changed a little bit, where you're able to raise equity at much higher prices. Every time you got a drill hole, your price would go up 10, 15, 20%. You're always creating value with the drill bit. And that worked for a long time. But now the problem is in a market that we're in, this is where the real opportunities present themselves, but the money's not there. I don't want to call it that everyone follows opportunities. So I'm trying to put it in a nice way, but as share prices go up, more money comes in. People love to buy sometimes at the top, but when things are going bad, when things are on sale, like fire sale, everyone's afraid because no one else is putting money in. And this is the time, if you believe in the gold market, you should be buying as many shares and exposure to gold companies and or base metal companies, any company for that matter that you love. This is the time to buy, is when no one else is buying.
Well, I'll put it into more context for you, help you out there, Mario. You look at the takeovers that are happening right now. That tells you that the majors need more deposits.
Yep.
But look what they're taking over. They're taking over other mining companies. And you guys are on the you got the double barrel shotgun in that you've got the underground mining, you've got you're going to start mining next year sometime, and you've got the wide open exploration potential. So that's a hell of a combination for a company that only has a $29 million valuation. And you can realistically point to companies with hundreds and several hundred million, billion plus valuations and say, we're on the same structure, we're finding it, we can understand it when we can look at things from underground, not just through a peephole of a drill core.
Yeah, and from exactly, you're bang on. When you look at Great Bear and Kinross, it took a lot of people to understand the potential of Great Bear, whether that's a fair value of what Kinross paid, whether it's overpriced, underpriced. To me, it doesn't really matter. It just shows, as you pointed out, the importance of the majors looking for deposits, because they got to continue to build their resources. And when you look at Galantas, no one really knew who Galantas was. When I got involved in May, I got to tell you, and I asked people around, what is Galantas? I never heard of it. And people will look at it and, and unfortunately, because it's been around for a bit and people weren't paying attention to it, people just think there's something wrong with it. There wasn't anything wrong with Galantas. It was never capitalized.
Well,
the focus was there.
I'm helping you bang.
Much appreciated.
I'm helping you bang the drum because I saw this with Dalradian. I see the valuations that these same kind of stories are getting, and you guys can do it rapidly. So Mario, you've been very kind with our audience, and I appreciate you coming on to talk about the news and help me with your sponsorship, be able to put this this work together. So let me close it off, and you guys will be having a lot of talks in the future, because I can see the path you're on, and I think it's an exceptional path that not a lot of junior exploration companies can offer.
I agree 100%. I'm excited for the future for Galantas as well, and how we can demonstrate value for shareholders, the community, Northern Ireland. There's a lot of value we're going to be able to provide to all stakeholders here.
And your geologist, she's got to be smiling a lot more when she can predict things and see.
Oh, yeah.
She must be pretty excited getting into that more competent rock.
Yeah, 100%. And when I talk to people, they all told me, like, Sarah is a very bright individual, but she just never had the ability to drill and do what geologists love to do, which is drill and build resources and have discoveries. But now she's got the tools to do it. She's got the capital, and obviously the wider support of management, the board, and shareholders.
Well, I love hungry geologists that want to prove a point. Young, hungry geologists that want to prove a point.
Yeah.
And, with a few holes into the ground, she's already showing that.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
She's
really
got to be impressed.
Yeah, I'm impressed. She's great. She's fantastic.
Well, one of these days we're going to have to get her on a show so we can talk to her.
Yep, we'll do that as well.
Okay, let me close it off, Mario, and then we'll have a little chat at the other end.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate it.
So there you go, folks. I'm tremendously excited about Galantas. A lot of it has to do with my experience with Dalradian. I picked it at 25 cents. I picked it for less than a valuation that Galantas has right now. They ended up getting taken over for near $500 million. And I really think what Galantas has could be even bigger. And the reason I say that is look at the models of orogenic deposits. They're on the right structure. They're finding veins. They're finding high grade. These are all the hallmark tick marks. Now they're finding dilation zones. They're finding as they get into the harder rock, they're finding it getting bigger and higher grade, and they're still really close to surface. Mario mentioned that the strike is about 2,000 meters. And a lot of times you can multiply by factors of 5 to even up to 10, the strike length times to get the depth potential. So you're talking about thousands of meters of depth potential. And all along that, if you can predict the way these veins are going, you can open up big zones of high grade that you can get at easily. It's an incredible story to me that's really underloved, and I'm going to continue doing everything I can to bang the drum because I think these guys are onto something very special. So on that note, as always, my shows are for information purposes only. It's important for you to speak with your financial advisors and do your homework. I compel you to do your homework on Galantas because, as Mario mentioned, when nobody is loving these kind of companies, that's when you want to do your homework because you can find tremendously undervalued stories with realistic potential and showing it with the truth machine. In a hot market, you're not going to get that opportunity. One hole, and they're going to have a $200 million valuation, not a few holes, geophysics, underground workings, and still only have a $29 million valuation. And I also believe that gold is heading a lot higher. And so we're going to have the light on us in the next few months, I believe. I think gold's in the next 6 months, we'll see over $2,000 an ounce gold. And that's going to bring a lot of people. And these are the kind of companies they're going to go to. So do your homework. We'll speak to you soon. Have a great day.